Hi, I'm Sheridan, and I've been in recruitment for around about 15 years. So I just wanted to share some information that's going to help you with various things in the recruitment agencies and how to deal with them, the relationship building. Why is it important to register with a recruitment agency? So let's go down to a few things. So if you're registered with a recruitment agency, generally a recruitment consultant will specialise in various areas. And say, for instance, with me, I specialise more in the office and professional, anything from sort of your 60K right up to 100, probably 200K type of candidates. So that's where my area is. There are larger recruitment agencies that specialise in various areas, such as ICT or finance or clerical, and any of those sort of areas. So the larger ones will have specific recruitment consultants that deal with only those areas. Some of the more small boutique ones will have someone will be like a generalist, like how I have operated. I've been more of a generalist across a lot of those different areas. So why is this important to you? It's good to understand, because if you're registering with an agency that only deals with various other areas, and say, for instance, if you're an accountant or a procurement officer or something like that, and you're registering with the wrong agency or recruiter, then they're not going to ever be able to have those opportunities. So it is important to understand that, and you might not know that initially, but asking those questions from a recruiter is really important too. Developing that relationship is really important. So, and how you manage that relationship. So, if you are lucky enough to register, and it is getting a little bit difficult because we do have a lot of international people coming into Australia, and getting your foot in the door is very can be a challenging process. If you do connect with a recruitment consultant, it's really about how you ask them how they would like to manage the connection. So, say for instance, I've had a lot of people, international people, that have registered with me, and I've said to them, perhaps contact me by email every couple of weeks until we've got you, until I've got you something or you found something yourself. So, or it might be a phone call. So it really depends on how the recruiter wants to be managed. So, but asking those questions are really important. So, let's look at some other things. So, how do you get your foot in the door? I know it's very challenging, but it's doable. And there's so many examples from that I've had over the years that I've helped people transition into work. And sometimes I have helped them, but I personally haven't found them work, but they've found it through my advice, which has helped them enormously. How do you get that foot in the door? And also, with regards to where you're living around Australia, is, I know with Queensland, Adelaide, it's very conservative, and so it's all about who you know. So if you can get yourself out to various networking events, even the local council will have business networking events that you can attend. Chamber of Commerce, check their website, maybe become a member, and then you can get out and meet people. Obviously, with your LinkedIn profile, making sure that your LinkedIn profile has not a Facebook picture of yourself. It has a professional picture, and also a very good blurb about that you're here, what are you on a visa, what your working conditions are, and the type of roles that you're looking for. It just gives a really quick snapshot of you. And I'll also say it again with your Seek profile, definitely create a Seek profile. Make sure that the information is up to date, because there are a lot of recruiters that will search the Seek database trying to find people with very specific skills. Say, for instance, if I was looking for an accountant with MYOB experience or Xero, or a very specific systems experience, Seek is going to be able to bring that up in my searches that I do very, very carefully. So that's also important. So your LinkedIn profile, your networking side of things, your Seek profile is definitely an essential area where you definitely need to have all of those things in ship shape. So that would be my first thing. And looking at going back to recruitment agencies, so there are, I don't know, something like around about 400 recruitment agencies per state. So it's a lot. It's a lot of competition, and they all deal in specific areas of recruitment. Say, for instance, like a large client or a defence client or a state government client or a local government client or a big private client. Generally, recruitment consultants, recruitment agencies will actually bid for the business, so they become a preferred person on the panel to supply staff into that particular area. So how do you find that information? So say, for instance, if you wanted to work for an energy or a mining company and you really want to work for this one particular place, how do you know which recruitment agencies? Well, that's a really good question, and it's that information is going to be challenging for you to find out. My first thing would maybe to contact them to say, are you preferred on contacting the company? Are you preferred with a particular company and then with an agency, and then you would contact the agency and send your resume through and be very specific. I want to work in this particular company or this industry. This is where my skill set aligned. So it's all about being really transparent with your information, and also on your resume as well. I think, if you've gone through my other module with your resume is going to be the most important area of your application. If you do not get that right, you're gonna struggle. And I've helped a lot of people be able to get their resume right and then go back out to market and find work. So, and you don't have to spend, $500 getting someone to do that. If you take the skills from what I have mentioned initially, you'll be able to get your foot in the door, and it all is to do with persevering and being consistent. So, and I think I've mentioned in my ebook with regards to, one of the most fascinating areas where there was a procurement person finding work into Adelaide, and it was 2 years he was working in a warehouse, and he kept up to his contacts everywhere within other recruitment agencies, as well as potential people that he was able to work with. After 2 years of doing shift work and not being paid very much, he was able to find work, get his foot in the door. He's never negative about the whole situation, and he got his foot in the door into a company, and then he thrived, and he's been a wonderful. It's been wonderful to see over the 5 years how he's progressed and climbed the ladder, and is exactly where he is now from what he was back in his home country. So it can happen. It takes a bit of patience, and it takes managing relationships and getting your local experience. Now, and I think I've mentioned before that sometimes it is going down a couple of levels sometimes to get your foot in the door, and that's okay too. There's one person that I'm working with at the moment. He's a ICT lead person, and he's actually working in an ICT help desk, and that's not what he's done that probably about 8-10 years ago back in his home country. But it's all about getting that initial experience, and he's persistent, and he's keeps the communication really, really well with me, and I'm really happy to help him in various areas. And sometimes it's about changing his resume. As I've mentioned, he's got a couple of different variations of his resume. One will be more specific in projects, one will be more ICT related, hands-on, and then one will be more of that implementation, transformational projects. So it's all about having that relationship with the recruiter, and also asking them, what roles do you deal with? Is it possible whether I can have a couple of variations of a resume? Is that going to help you? So can you see how it is? Those steps are really, really important. And probably the biggest thing for you, if you do not have your permanent residency here in Australia, recruitment agencies are going to be your best friend, and you need to get that right as well. So your resume, and then registering with recruitment agencies. I will say though, there are some recruitment agencies that, if you've got these very specific skills, hard to find in the market. If they think that you're registered with about 5, then they may not take as much notice. As in, you may not be as much of a priority. Now, they're not going to tell you that, but I will. So I would keep it very to yourself about who you're registered with a recruitment agency. I generally ask candidates, are they registered with other companies, only because I really want to help them, and I'm not precious in keeping candidates all to myself, because I figure, if they go off and do a 6-month stint somewhere else with another recruitment agency, I know that I'll help them and maintain that relationship. But recruiters, you've got to realise that they are salespeople, and they generally are looking to place something and move on to the next role. There are recruiters that want to build up the relationship with you and help you through the whole process of your working career. They're a little bit harder to find, but there are recruiters like that. So it is it is quite different. So can you see some of the differences, and understanding how recruitment consultants work, how it's important that you take those steps to build up those relationships. So just going back to another point, or expand on what I was speaking about with regards to why is it important for you not being a permanent resident and registering with these recruitment agencies, is because a lot of the roles that they have, they might not advertise. So if you're registered with them and you've got a relationship with the recruiter, and a role comes up in your field, and they don't have to advertise, that they know that you are ready to go, and they've interviewed you, then of course they're going to be contacting you, and they're not going to advertise the role if they don't need to. So that's an expenditure process, or an extra expense for the agency, that if they can fast track that, they know that they've got the right candidate, then they'll do that process. So you'd get the first look in. So recruitment agencies, once again, they do not advertise all of their roles. So that's important for you to know. The next point is that if you are on a visa, finding work through an agency is going to be your best friend as well, because if it's a 6-month role, it may get extended, which is, some of it can be quite likely that it can do that, or it may go into permanency. So, but it's all about you getting your first position in Australia. So having that experience and moving on with a recruitment agency, finding you your first role, and even if it's 1 or 2 weeks, it is an opportunity. And being really clear about your visa and working restrictions on your resume, it fast tracks the understanding from the decision maker, which is generally, in your case, is going to be a recruitment agency. So I think I'll leave it at that until the next module. I hope you got a lot out of that information, and why it's important to, first of all, get your resume right, and then why it's so important to build up your networks, your relationship building with recruitment agencies, that there are over 400 per state. And I would look at anywhere between maybe 5 or more recruitment agencies to register with. I think that's a good mix, but obviously you can keep that to yourself. It's none of their business who you register with. But also too, if they do ask, you just don't want to be like, oh well, I'm not going to tell you, because then they'll be a bit funny about that. So you need to manage that with a lot of care, and also to know that recruiter is going to try their best to find you something. So also to keep that in mind and manage that process as well with a lot of respect to the recruitment consultant. I'll expand on that a little bit. So say, for instance, if I've got a candidate that I'm working with and I'm spending maybe half a day trying to find them work, and then I realise that they're registered with about 10 or more other agencies, and my time's valuable, of course, as it is with yours, but the urgency may not be as there because they think that you're registered with numerous other agencies. So so maybe just keep that in mind as well. All right, thank you.